Sounds accurate.
So we don't want you to think that we're not bringing you the news to get to us started here on a Friday morning. That was the big news that took place probably while you were asleep overnight. So we got that. Good. All right. We've covered everything already, and we're only 4 minutes into the show, so now we'll focus back on the local stuff. As, again, we'll get you ready today. Dawn Staley and South Carolina host Kim Mulkey and whatever bird outfit she'll wear. 5 o'clock, we'll have the coverage for you starting at 4:30 right here on 107.5 The Game with the pregame, Preston. 5 o'clock, and you said there's a key ingredient to making something a rivalry.
Yeah, there's one key ingredient. There's several things that can make something a rivalry, whether it's location, whether it's the high stakes, but there has to be one key ingredient, and that is missing from this major matchup today.
I know.
We can find it. We can find all types of things that are missing. We can call it all types. We can call it a major matchup. We can call it a big game. We can call it there's different ways we call it, but we just cannot call it rivalry because there's one thing missing.
So we will explain that, but that might actually also be the theme of the show because we've got to get you ready for the NFL playoffs this weekend. And the rivalry, non-rivalry, that is the Bills and the Chiefs. We are set for what could be another really fun one. There's just one problem with it, Preston.
Coincidentally, it's the same issue. There's a huge glaring issue as to why we can't quite graduate these major matchups to rivalries.
So we'll get into that. Big weekend for Josh Allen as he gets ready for a showdown with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes apparently feeling the need to address the NFL being rigged. You gotta enjoy it when one of the star players feels the need to address the fact that the league is we're not rigged. No, I'm not protected. Is this just another step in the, what do we want to call it? The babyification? He's no longer a baby now. He's no longer cute and cuddly. Patrick Mahomes, he's kind of going through the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry. Well, oh man, you're just flat annoying. You're not really enjoyable anymore.
So those awkward teenage years?
Pretty much, where, yeah, we just don't like him. And then they come back around at the very end, and we're like, oh, that's kind of what Steph's getting right now, right? Like, Steph went through the early baby phase where we all loved him, and he was cute and cuddly, and he's hitting threes from everywhere. He's bringing his daughters out, or bringing his daughter out on the press conference, and, oh, look at him, family man. Then they won too much. We're like, y'all are annoying. Stop with all this. You've added Kevin Durant. Now you're just annoying. And then late in his career, we're like, oh.
You're losing again. We can like you.
Yeah. You're likable again.
Yeah. Even though they did get that last one in 2022, I believe. But, yeah, that's sort of the lifespan of a sports hero. We watch the climb. You get to the top. We hate on you. You fall. And then we like you again.
We'll see if that also comes around for Jimmy Butler as he continues to battle it out. I'm watching Jimmy Butler just attempt to blow up the Heat. The Heat are attempting to blow up Jimmy Butler. This is the Spider-Man meme right here. The Heat culture against Jimmy Butler culture.
Yeah, what is it? The unstoppable force versus the immovable object. Jimmy, this is not the dude that you want to play this one with. Pat Riley is not the guy.
No.
He will go down swinging. Even at his age now.
Yes. He
will go down swinging. So this will play out not great for Jimmy Butler or the Heat culture.
We'll get a vibe, a Mama Thorne vibe check on that as well. But again, a lot to get to. South Carolina men's basketball tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Lamont Paris talking last night, Preston Thorne. And again, it's to me now a story of, all right, Coach, how good of a motivator are you? What are you selling your team on going in now 0-6? You now go into the second the second trimester, if you will, of the season. You've played 6. Now you come up with another 6, and then you'll wrap it up with the final 6. You're 0-6. What is the selling point? Hey, we can rally if we can go 8-4. 8-4 would get them to 8-10 in conference. As good as the conference is, 8 wins would put them at 18 wins. Probably not enough for the NCAA tournament. That's my question is, what is the message to your team in the locker room to keep them engaged and not keep a wandering eye toward the transfer portal, the NBA, toward the next step in their life? what becomes the message to his team?
Yeah, this is new territory for Lamont. He hasn't coached in this sort of territory, so that's why I think there's intrigue and reason to watch these games, because we want to see how they will come out and play with the season in the balance, with the expectations being a disappointment at this point. What levers does he pull or push or prod or poke those players to get them to perform up to the level that he thinks they are capable of? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit this morning. Again, we'll get back into some NFL. I think another interesting storyline for the weekend, Preston Thorne, is Washington Commander head coach Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's a really interesting character when you talk about NFL coaches. There has been success there with him with the Atlanta Falcons, and then obviously being relieved of duties there. Now you look at what he's doing. A win this weekend. If the Commanders can go into Philadelphia and knock off the Eagles and get to the Super Bowl, I think we have to look at Dan Quinn a little bit different as a head coach.
Yeah, well, he got an opportunity for redemption. This is his second chance, a chance for him to get it right and right his huge faux pas in Atlanta. You may not remember many Super Bowl games, but you definitely remember that one. So there is an opportunity for him to right his wrongs and for him to get back and do these things almost very similar in career arc to what Andy Reid was. Andy Reid had more success with the Eagles, but he could never get over the hump until his second opportunity. And guess what? When you get that rookie quarterback, things change a little bit. So we'll see.
So we'll get into a lot this morning. There's a lot to get to. We've already given you the big news there of Novak Djokovic retiring is the proper word. We don't do tennis on this show very much, but I figured we better lead off with the big story of the morning, Preston Thorne. I didn't want anybody waking up, getting to their office, and then being informed, being blindsided by the Novak Djokovic news and being like, well, the early game didn't discuss it. How am I supposed to show up and know what the news is without them? If they're really going to cut up about cornbread, some delicious jalapeno cornbread with chili last night, and other food items, and not give me the actual news of Novak Djokovic. So I feel like we've done our job.
We're here. Let's go.
All right, we'll get into a little women's basketball. Massive showdown over at Colonial Life Arena.
That's a good one. Showdown.
Showdown. Yeah, it's a duel.
It is a showdown.
A duel. What was I watching yesterday? I was watching The Magnificent Seven with Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt and all those guys. And, yeah, you've got a duel at Colonial Life Arena, a showdown coming up 5 o'clock today. Again, we'll have the pregame starting for you right here on 107.5. The game coming up at 4:30 today. But we'll get into it. Why, though, is it not a rivalry? Preston Thorne explains when we come back. You're listening to the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, take care of it, give you a free quote for any job. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows or mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. We say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
And out there on the highways this morning, just one accident that's out towards Pelion. WE Jeffcoat Road near Cary Road. No other major slowdowns. Still could see a couple little patches of ice here or there if something maybe hasn't quite gotten melted off. But for the most part, things much better than we've had the past few days. 47 will be our high today. Overnight low, a chilly 23. 51 tomorrow, 27 for the overnight low. And then we got to get a little bit more of a warming trend. Sunday, 56, overnight low of 39. So looking a little bit better as we move forward. And actually, we will hit in temperatures in the 60s come this upcoming week. Right now, though, it's still kind of cold, 26 on 107.5 The Game.
Obviously, we brought it to their attention, and we feel like the officiating is going to be on it at the start of the game. Some of the things that we did in that game, we're not going to be able to do. Some of the things that they did, they're not going to be able to do. So for us, it's about adjusting to how the officiating is going to be. It's probably going to be tight. I would if I'm coordinator officials, but I don't think our teams are in that place or in that headspace.
Those are the words of Dawn Staley yesterday as she gets her team ready for this afternoon, 5 o'clock. And, Preston, I'll just start with this just so we can clear it up. The conspiracy theorists out there believe Kim Mulkey has massaged this game into a 5 o'clock window so as to maybe take away from a little bit of the home court advantage. I've seen the internet conspiracy theorists who say that Kim Mulkey, I think, secretly had it snow in Baton Rouge. They couldn't get out. I've seen people say maybe they could have left earlier. Maybe they could have one-dayed this thing. Why couldn't we play at 7 o'clock to help the crowd out? Why does it have to be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon?
Well, here's what we know about the Fams. They will be there loud, full of faith. It doesn't matter whether it's 5, 7, 10.
They'll be coughing at work to get out early.
Exactly.
It's no worries.
That will not happen. Also, Kim Mulkey is an excellent coach. Tremendous. Maybe the second best coach in the country. I don't think she could coach Mother Nature into snowing in Baton Rouge. That would be a heck of a play that she drew up if she could have pulled that one. That is fantastic.
She can snow people, but
Right.
she cannot.
Yeah,
no Mother Nature.
I don't think she could pull that card. She's good.
All right.
She can draw up some plays, but not that.
So you're
one.
saying that is just conspiracy theorist stuff. Probably none of that factual.
Probably
that she did not orchestrate this and have her hands.
That's probably best on the message boards.
Okay.
It's good fodder, though.
Yeah.
Good fodder.
So, all right. It is a rivalry in the sense that these two teams and these two coaches, I do believe these two coaches are not fond of one another. I think that probably there's a level of respect.
I think there's a healthy professional respect. There obviously is.
But I don't know if there is. I don't know if either exchange text messages on Christmas or New Year's. I don't think that when they are at the meetings in Destin, they are getting tea or coffee together. I don't think these two teams are getting tea or coffee together. I don't think that there is I'm not sure there's a level of respect amongst the teams. You heard Dawn Staley kind of talking about that because the last time these two teams played, bit of a shoving incident.
A brouhaha, skirmish, if you will. There was an incident that obviously happened, and if we remember, that game was during the SEC championship, so it had everything that you need for a major matchup. It had high stakes. You had you had superstars. You had a close game, and if you remember, that thing just went off the wire, off the rack. It was all kinds of stuff that happened. There was a shoving, there was a push, there was benches was clearing, people were coming out of the stands. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. Was it Flojet's brother?
Yes.
Is that right?
Trying to climb over.
Came out of the stands. I was just refreshing my memory. They ejected the whole bench for LSU. It was like, none of y'all can come back. So LSU was only playing with 5 players. Only 2 players did not get ejected from South Carolina. One because Tahina Paopao was sitting at the scorer's table when everything was going down.
Very true, yeah.
And so it was a wild event. Obviously, to my major point from the first segment, LSU did not win that game. and they have not won this game in the last 16 opportunities. 16-0. The last 16 games have been victories for South Carolina versus LSU. That predates Kim Mulkey. That predates Kim Mulkey. So this has been going on for a while. So that's why I always stopping short of calling it a rivalry, because it cannot be a rivalry until the other team actually wins a game.
Okay.
It's a major matchup, epic showdown, whatever you want to call it, but we can't quite call it a rivalry.
South Carolina going 2-0 against LSU, and of course last year LSU had Angel Reese on that team as well, and what?
She doesn't do herself any favors. Even in the WNBA, I still don't think somebody needs to just give her a little guidance to say, you know what? When you write out your tweet and then walk away and then come back and see if it still is something that you want to send out, because she does herself no favors.
She doesn't have the delay button on the tweet.
No
delay button.
So there you go. So Jen didn't need a donut or coffee to get fired up. All we had to do was mention Angel Reese, and Jen's ready to go there. But this LSU team is a little different. They're good. They're undefeated.
Maybe better.
They might be better. But they don't kind of have the what I'm going to label is the yappy annoyingness that the previous team had.
Oh, that was a singularity. It was they sort of took on the personality of their leader, and the leader of the team was Angel Reese. And now this team is actually, I think, probably better. Flage is coming into her own as a scorer. Anish Morrow is quietly, I think she's better than Angel Reese. She's more skilled for sure, so she can score buckets. So it's a very different team than they had coming last year. But guess what? South Carolina's a very different team than they were last year. So the only thing very similar, the jerseys and obviously the coaches are the same, but the on-court players are very vastly different than they were last year.
I'm not sure if this is done on purpose or if it's out scheduled. Last year, these two teams met on a Thursday, January the 25th. Today's obviously January the 24th. So I'm not sure if the SEC just does the schedule and almost keeps it kind of similar in terms of dates. But it is interesting that these two teams will meet almost 1 year to the date of their regular season showdown. That was a 76-70 victory for South Carolina. And if you remember that game, LSU.
Haley Van Lith is not there.
Haley Van Lith she's now at TCU. Yeah, there's a lot there. But if you remember that particular game in Baton Rouge, it was a late game. Game day was there. It was hyped and celebrated, and LSU came out with all the energy and all the pomp and circumstance and all the energy to talk a little trash. Got up on South Carolina 24-18, and it was kind of just South Carolina was like, all right, we're here for 4 quarters, and sure enough, just wore them down to the point of beating them up in the fourth quarter, 24-14, to pull away for the 6-point lead. And then when you mentioned it, that was a 6-point victory then. And then the SEC championship game for South Carolina, where they knock off LSU and knock down LSU and Flau'jae Johnson, 79-72 back in March of 2024. That was the Sunday, March the 10th game, 79-72 up in Greenville. So to your point, it could be a great game. It could be a massive game. It could be the game of the year. It can't be a rivalry.
Not yet. Now, it does have the potential. It does have the potential, and it will be something that everybody's locked in. And I know Coach Staley, and I know that Kim Mulkey, they want to make it about the players, and it's all about them. But it's also about these coaches.
It is.
The two most dynamic personalities in maybe college basketball, period, right? These are the one or two of the most recognizable people and definitely women in the game. And these are people that you will tune in to see, whether it's their antics on the sidelines, whether it's their outfits. These are people that you want to see in a primetime spot. So it has all the makings of a great game.
I actually was going to say the only other person I'd put up there is Dan Hurley. But if you put all three in a library, if you put all three, Dan Hurley, Dawn Staley, and Kim Mulkey in a library, you'd be like, there's the geek over there with the glasses. And then look, what's going on with these two? What are they wearing?
Whoa, he'd
fit in a library. You'd be like, oh, okay, that guy's just over there reading some books, checking things out. What are these two over here doing?
You think Dawn tweeted, or not tweeted, but like texted Kim and said, hey, looking forward to seeing you in Columbia. And by the way, did you see the latest article about my contract renewal? Just like,
she didn't need to. Kim saw it.
Yeah,
Kim saw it.
Right.
When you get to that level of competition, it's like, okay. There's an internal drive where she wants this game. Obviously, she's going to say it's about the players and blah, blah, blah. She wants it.
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure.
I mean, without naming names, I mean, there was when I've coached AAU or when I've coached middle school or JV basketball, you don't really know the people. It's not the same as varsity, or it's even not the same as obviously college basketball or the NBA. But you know coaches out there, and you're like, that one I want to win. That one I need to. There's a little bit more to it as a coach. You want to win every game, but there's a little personal reason maybe for this game or that game. And for Kim Mulkey and for Dawn Staley, because look, there's again rumor mills, but these rumor mills seem to be a little bit more substantiated in terms of the fact that South Carolina and LSU were heavily involved with Joyce Edwards, and there might have been some back and forth between the coaches on the recruiting trail that went through Joyce Edwards. Joyce Edwards is going to be a big piece of tonight's game. Anish Moreau, as you mentioned, that recruitment.
She was a big, through the transfer portal, kind of came down to them.
It basically told South Carolina one thing, did another. A lot of people thought that maybe Kim Mulkey was maybe maneuvering things again in that situation. I think you hit the nail on the head. Healthy respect, healthy professional respect of, hey, Kim's a good coach, Dawn's a good coach. I don't know if there's a personal level of respect and friendship.
Doesn't need to be. As long as there's a healthy professional respect, which there is, that makes for an entertaining game.
So we'll see what outfits these two women pull out. Although I would imagine Dawn's is going to be pretty easy. I imagine Dawn's going to have some Eagles gear on tonight. She's going to be repping Philly.
That's a good. That's a possibility.
She's going to be repping Philly. Look, we know. I get it. Dawn. The thing about Dawn is loyalty, and I say this in all sincerity. Dawn is loyal to those who are loyal to her, and Philly is loyal to her, and the Eagles and the Sixers. I assume the Flyers, the Phillies. She's loyal to Philly. That's who she is. And so, yeah, she's going to rep her Eagles gear tonight, expecting a victory on Sunday for them to be in the Super Bowl, and I'm totally okay with that.
I'm interested to see. It will be prime time.
Because there's not another game really till Monday. So, yeah, she has to rep them.
This might be the one.
803-404-6100. There's a little preview of the women's game tonight over at Colonial Life Arena. Again, we'll have coverage for you starting at 4:30. We'll give you permission because this is a big one. Not a rivalry, but it's a big one. We'll give you permission. Get out of work at noon and start pre-gaming. Get yourself ready. We'll talk a little more about that. We'll get into Lamont Paris next. His team tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll talk about it. You're listening to the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. We redid the kitchen, had to totally demolish the kitchen thanks to a flood. And we went to CHW Cabinetry for guidance and to get new cabinetry. Had a great experience. Even got the photorealistic rendering of our finished kitchen before it was finished. And that was really, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it was so helpful putting all the other elements together. Also needed some cabinetry for some bathrooms. Went right back to CHW Cabinetry for a great experience. They can also help you increase functionality in bedroom closets. Maybe in your pantry you need something better. Looking to maybe create a home office workspace. More people doing that. And they can help you get that more functional. CHWCabinetry.com. That is the place to go. Call them at 803-520-6837. And, of course, be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. They're locally owned, a women-owned business. CHW Cabinetry. Passion from inspiration to installation. And out there on the highways this morning, we are seeing just things moving fairly well, though we do have 2 accidents to let you know about. Broad River Road at I-20, also I-77 southbound just after Forest Drive. Certainly looking better and moving forward from our little foray into the winter wonderland. 47 the high today under sunny skies. Still going to be chilly overnight, 23. 51 tomorrow with sunny conditions, and then 56 on Sunday. But we will get into the 60s for at least the middle part of this upcoming week. So we do welcome that, but you still need to be bundling up today. 26 currently on the early game.
.36 as we get you up and get you going here on your Friday morning. Glad to be a part of your daily morning routine. I think a lot of schools are on a 2-hour delay this morning. We'll send the kids back to school for a few hours, and then we will get the weekend going. It's basically been a nice 3-day break for them, with most schools being out Monday for Martin Luther King Day and then 2 days of school off. And then I guess actually you could say half a day on Tuesday and half a day today.
Yeah, it's been nice for some folks. Some folks have really understood the value of teachers, because your kids have been home with you all day and you only deal with one of them, and the teachers deal with 30 of those little hellions. So make sure you
not my child.
Of course, never your child.
No, absolutely.
Never anybody's specific child. Just the general royal you.
Yes, all of yous.
Yes.
Use.
Yes. So make sure you appreciate your teachers when you get back.
Yeah, I apologize to my kids' teachers who had them, and we raised them to not be maybe annoying, and yet I had one that seemed to annoy them quite a bit, and I got called into my fair share of parent-teacher conferences. So my apologies again.
How did those parent-teacher conferences go?
Again, my favorite was the one where I'd like to meet with you about math, and then I walk in and the firing squad is there. All of her teachers are lined up for me. That was super.
Oh, and given that you have one of each, you just sold one down the river when you said all of her teachers.
Oh, and she fully admits. I mean, and it's funny because she's doing beautifully now. We just had to get out of all of that and find her way.
A phase.
Now she's actually going to be a nurse practitioner.
So what you're saying is the apple did not fall far from the tree when it came to daughter acting like mother at times.
No, actually, I was really pretty good in school. I mean, I was mischievous. No, I'm serious. I mean, yes, I chatted. Shocking. But what kid doesn't get the talks too much in class? I mean, seriously. I mean, yeah. So, that's not like anything new. But no, my mom was a teacher. My dad was on the school board. I didn't dare, act up. I got stupid in college.
Aren't those the ones that are the most dangerous? Mom's a teacher, dad's on the school board.
It all depends. It can go a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I behaved. I just made up for it.
Well, get the kids back into school this morning. Be like us. Stop and get them a donut. We got a couple donuts over here as we celebrate being back in studio and surviving this week's Winter Storm Enzo that rolled through and dumped a little snow that is still on the ground. I'm sure there's still a few icy patches out there on the road as well. So please get up and be safe this morning as you're making your daily commute and your morning travels. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Lamont Paris last night. Preston, this is an interesting conversation to me. It's an interesting conversation as it pertains to college athletics, to elite athletes, to raising athletes. Lamont Paris last night, Jen, this is number 10. Lamont Paris talked about Colin Murray Boyles, or as ESPN kept putting up on their image the other day, Connor Murray Boyles. I don't know if anybody else kept constantly catching that on one of the graphics, but Colin Murray Boyles. And this is Lamont Paris talking about Murray Boyles is not comfortable in command. And let's listen to what Lamont Paris says and then come back and dissect this a little bit, because it's an interesting, to me, look into the mentality, the mindset of your elite players. Here's what Lamont Paris discussed last night.
And we've made a concerted effort, like in that game specifically, as we've seen stuff. We try to force the hand because I said it we watched film today with the team, and one thing, there was one possession late in the game, and sometimes it's out of your hands. I said, Colin, you have to go command the ball. You have to command the basketball at this point on this possession, and he's not. That's out of his comfort zone. Being quite frank, it's out of his comfort zone, and so you take it for granted that when you run good offense, because he is so versatile, he'll just find his way into a bunch of different things, which he typically does. But I do think we've made a concerted effort to have some buttons to push to say, hey, okay, it's been too long since Colin didn't get something on his own, off the backboard, on a drive, off of a ball screen. Let's run this where we know he's going to get a touch. But in that game, we did that a bunch, and they played in a way where he was going to be more of a passer than a scorer.
This is wild. And I don't think it's a bad thing, but I don't think it's a bad thing. But to discuss the dog mentality, if you will, it is something with my 12-year-old son who's playing middle school basketball, who I'll have a game tomorrow morning, that I'm trying to coach into him is to be a little more selfish at times, to be a little more aggressive at times, not to be as passive. Preston, you've played high-level football, you've played high-level baseball, you've coached. This is just, it's interesting to hear because I think the greats, the absolute greats, have that mentality of, you guys aren't getting it. It's a jerk mentality. You guys aren't getting it done. Just get out of the way. I'll take care of it.
To go back, this is a conversation that they had. This is why people were very much against LeBron early in his career, because they were saying he was making the right basketball play by making the extra pass.
I think it was an NBA All-Star game in which he kicked out to the corner for a three, and people were like, it's an All-Star game, man.
And this is the same sort of thing. And this is where I brought this up yesterday. CMB has tremendous stats for the whole game up until when they really need them. And it's not as if he's disappearing or he's shying away from it, but there's a slight difference between you shying away from it and you going to get these opportunities, saying, give me the ball. This is my possession. No. You're cool. We're teammates. But I get this shot, and I'm taking this shot. And I think the team wants him to step up into that position because, well, maybe this is what we say. If we could go into a lab and do a little switcheroo and give whatever's in Zach's heart to CMB, we'd be on pick because Zach is not scared to take the shot.
Let me say, you would say this. It is the polar opposite of Talon Cooper from last year. Talon Cooper for 35 minutes was like, y'all got all this. I'll facilitate. But in the final 4 or 5 minutes of last year, Talon Cooper's like, I got it. I'll hit the big shot. Just swing it to me and I'll knock it down. And he would do it. And that's why South Carolina won some games. Michi Johnson was a guy. Michi Johnson, as soon as he crossed half court and even before then, was like, I got this.
Never had to worry about that.
I'm going to take the shot. Don't you worry about anything else. It's a really interesting concept, I think, both for all of us raising athletes, regardless of gender, regardless of age, against also not making them that jerk player on the court that's yelling at their teammates, right?
Yeah, he's not trying to yell at his teammates, but he has to make himself more assertive and get himself where those plays are called for him, and he gets the ball, and he's the first option and does not pass the ball until there's absolutely no other option. So I think that was very interesting that Lamont shed light on it, because that's something we've seen. When they go to these scoring droughts at the end of the games, if CMB fancies himself as a NBA player, you have to be able to get a bucket when the team is struggling. He hasn't been able to do that to this point.
803-404-6100. We'll continue talking about that. There is some stuff that I've really started to drill down on with this basketball team, and one of them is Colin Murray-Boyles taking that next step that I don't think he has taken this year. And we'll get into that a little bit with him shooting three-pointers. We'll talk about that, and we'll wrap up hour number one. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. 2024 has flown by. You've gotten everything cleaned except the carpets, the rugs, the tile, and the upholstery from all those great parties you have. Well, guess what? Zero Res, with their patented ZR water technology, scientifically proven to keep the carpets, rugs, tiles, upholstery all insanely clean, and do it with no harsh chemicals, which means pure safety for your family and your pets. They're ready to help you. They have a 4.9 star rating out of 5 with over 2,000 Google reviews. So give them a phone call today, 803-262-4020, and take advantage of the New Year sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119, and mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. Again, that's 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119, and mentioning me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, get you a hallway cleaned for free. Zero S, spell it backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean. .648 here as we roll along on your Friday morning, dissecting a little bit of the women's game later on this afternoon. Again, you can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. So a reminder, today's game will be on 107.5 The Game. No Carolina Calls tonight. So you can hear it starting with the pregame at 4:30 and tip-off set for 5 o'clock. We'll get back into that. A couple of y'all wondering what Kim Mulkey will wear tonight. Look, we'll come back to this, but this is why women's basketball has really started to take off. And Preston, you were at the forefront of this, I think 2 years ago, with the women's game has personality. It has flair. And it has flair and it has personality in a way that is annoying and creates villains. And that makes for good sport. We used to have that in men's college basketball. Because of one and dones and because of kind of the button-down nature, you just don't have that anymore. And, you know, that brings us to who are some of the great all-time coaching sport villains?
There's a lot of great coaches that have personalities. I don't even need you to be a villain. I just need you. I mean, Lamont, our guy.
Look, you know this, and we just talked about it winning. Dawn's a villain to a lot of people out there. She's our villain.
Yes.
We love her.
She's ours.
Targets on her back because of her success.
Yes. So she's ours, and she's outspoken, and she's very much in the public eye. So yeah, a lot of people around the country would say, I don't like that. We obviously do. We just had a top 5 team come in there. There were 10 assistant coaches on Florida's bench. I don't know who the head coach was.
They're all dressed the same, too.
They're all dressed the same and very boring quarter zips. Who was the head coach? I just saw some little dorky dude celebrating. I was like, oh, that's him? Cool. And so when you look at the rest of the men's game, except for Hurley, what other college coaches are worth even paying attention to?
You're right.
There's none.
Bruce Pearl is the guy. And because of that, people view him and some off-the-court shenanigans, rightfully so. But because of his antics and how he is, and he's big and demonstrative, Frank Martin would have been that guy if he'd have won more. When he was winning, he was that kind of that crazed lunatic on the sideline. When he's losing, people just think he's a crazed lunatic. But the bottom line is you don't have that in the men's game. In the women's game, you've got a couple coaches. Gino Auriemma is in his own way, but it makes for good sport, and it makes for us to watch and go, I want to see that team or that person lose.
Yeah, and that is part of the whole package, and that's why this game is so important. It is the players on the court. They are winning. They are playing high-quality basketball, but the women that are leading them are also personalities that you want to grab onto so that when the teams do change, when you have new players, you still have these coaches that you're grabbing onto as part of this long-standing battle between these two universities. So, yes, and you're right. Coaching villains, which ones are there? Are there coaches still out there that you just point to and you think, I don't like it? Obviously, there's one guy in the SEC, which is the easy one for me.
And it makes it fun, though.
And he's the rarity.
Well, there's one guy now in the Big Ten who's moving up the list, right?
Still tweeting.
Still, and I got a feeling he ain't going to stop.
Still tweeting. So, yes, I am all for coaches having personalities, all for us being able to pay attention to something aside from the corporate cardboard cutouts that seem to be the direction where colleges, where coaching is going.
I agree with that, but I think the only thing I think that is funny with Kim Mulkey is that it's all about the players. It's all about the players. But here she comes out in, her flamingo outfits and all that kind of stuff. Like she definitely likes the attention being on her too.
Of course.
And
of course.
And again, that is what makes it more fun. But it is kind of funny when she'll point, oh no, it's not about me. If she's wearing something that has lights that are flashing on it.
It's fun as long as you're winning. And South Carolina has won these. We would be doing the show in the cold at Colonial Life Arena outside spitting nails if she had beaten us a couple times, waiting on her to show up. And that's the truth. You can laugh and you can make these jokes and you can do this when you're beating them.
Yeah.
When you're beating them, then they're less of a villain. And that's the other part. Dawn Staley's whipped up on LSU. They were waiting on Dawn last year. They were waiting on that team to arrive in Baton Rouge. They were out for blood, if you will. But this is a part, as I've really now sunk my teeth into college basketball now over the last 2 weeks, and I told you in December off air and somewhat in January, I was like, I don't know if I'm getting into it all that much. And I have. But I can really see almost like the corporate business side of the men's against the personality-driven, flamboyant side of the women's, which is entirely different. And kudos, Dawn Staley and her teams were at the forefront of that. Caitlin Clark took it to another level. I don't really care for her, but kudos to Angel Reese for buying in and not being not going, whoa, this is too much publicity. I don't want to be known for this, and I'm going to shy away and not talk. Angel Reese bought in. Haley Van Lith was another one. And you see, I think it got a little bit too much for Haley Van Lith. She was like, ooh, this LSU, this Kim Mulkey might be I got to get out of here. But it's what makes the women's side fun and what makes it a fast-growing sport.
So 803-404-6100. Coaching villains?
Bobby Knight.
That was my very first one.
Right here, first text, Coach Bobby Knight.
Very clear.
And that's a good one, too, because I remember, Bobby Knight's not heyday, I don't want to say, but I think his in 2000, as you and I were really entering the college world, technology was growing. Internet was growing. And I remember having lots of conversations, like, at that point, I'd played for Bailey Harris, but, like, me being like, yeah, I think I could play for Bobby Knight. I could probably deal with that. And that was right around the choking out of whatever that player's name was.
There was a tremendous 30 for 30 on that whole time. Wild time period. I played for Lou Holtz. A lot of people would consider Lou Holtz a coaching villain.
Yeah.
But he had a personality. Steve Spurrier.
Was a definite villain, unless he was yours.
Exactly.
And that's what makes a good villain. He's a villain, but he's our villain, and we love him. Hour 2 in the way.
Preston here. Let me tell you about our good friends down at Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been family-owned and serving the Midlands since 1983, and they've been helping everyone from weekend warriors to professional landscapers. Yes, since 1983, that's over 40 years. Third-generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, while still holding on to the mom and pop values that you love. And Ben is determined to raise the standards of not only sales, but service and retail. Cato's is proud to offer a big selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the team can make the process easy. They find financing options, and they can keep your gear running with expert in your service and parts. So swing by Cato's of Power Equipment today and call them at 803-254-3711. That's 803-254-3711.
I-77 southbound of Forest, just after Forest Drive. Report of an accident there, and Broad River Road, that is, at I-20. So Broad River Road at I-20, an accident as well. But things moving much better than they have been the past few days, thanks to, getting a little of that winter weather out of here. And we are definitely looking for better conditions and a high today of we're going to be a little bit nicer, about 48. And then things should be continuing to improve for the weekend. We'll be in the 50s, getting into the 60s next week. But right now we are looking at a chilly 26 on 107.5 The Game. Yes, 47 for the high today.
I mean, just a rivalry. It's a game that we must win, obviously, because we only play them once, and you want the tiebreaker advantage. But still just a game. Win or lose, you still, every goal that you have is still in front of you. It makes it a little bit harder, especially when it comes to our conference. So glad it's at home.
Well, that is the words of Dawn Staley, arguing with the words of Preston Thorne. Specifically, Dawn Staley calling it a rivalry. Preston Thorne saying, no.
Not a rivalry, Coach. Appreciate everything you do. You are the GOAT. Not a rivalry. Can't be a rivalry until the other team actually wins. And at this point, we have gone 16 games in a row without LSU beating South Carolina. Not a rivalry. High stakes, big game, epic showdown, all of that. Not a rivalry.
It is one of the best matchups in the SEC right now.
Big matchup
between these two. And again, look, and is it fair? Is this fair to call Dawn flamboyant? She's a flamboyant coach.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Okay.
It's fine.
I don't want to. Some people get offended by flamboyant by being called flamboyant, but she is. And these are two mega stars, Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey, in the women's game. Dawn Staley's a mega star outside of the women's game. I don't think Kim Mulkey is. Is that fair?
That's fair.
It's Dawn and Gino outside of women's, but Dawn and Gino can pretty much do anything outside of women's basketball. We know who they are. Kim Mulkey could show up in a whatever that is, a Progressive or an All-State, whatever commercial, and people would be like, who is that? For all we know, Kim Mulkey has dressed up as the Duck and been the Duck in one of those things because that would go along with her sideline attire. But, yeah, I mean, Dawn Staley's a mega star when it comes to sporting figures, and that's going to be some of the attraction. 5 o'clock today is tip-off over at Colonial Life Arena. 4:30, we will have the pregame for you right here, 107.5 The Game. So we encourage you. Tell the bosses, tell everybody we're giving you permission. About 12:30ish, 1 o'clock today, when you dip out for lunch, go ahead, start pre-gaming. Just go on down to Colonial Life Arena. It's going to be great. Again, as I mentioned in hour one, the internet conspiracy theorist out there going with, of course, this seems to be a little bit of Kim Mulkey's doing, maybe manipulating the weather, moving this game from a primetime Thursday night spot with College game day in town to a Friday afternoon 5 o'clock game to try and affect the fan base.
Yeah, like I said, Kim can draw up coaches. She's an amazing coach. She's awesome with the X's and O's. I don't think she could draw that one up. Snow in Baton Rouge would never be on somebody's bingo card or what they were expecting.
That's what makes it all the more genius.
There you go.
That's what makes it all the more genius. So, yeah, we will keep you covered on that throughout the morning. Chris Deering coming up here in about 15 minutes to do our high school highlights of the week. But we've been talking about that. And then talking about Kim Mulkey, that led us to our sports villains, specifically coaches. Darby kind of gets it a little bit. Sports villain, Bud Kilmer. Now, you know who Bud Kilmer is?
I don't.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know who Bud Kilmer is?
I don't.
You do. You do.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Look him up real quick and let's see if you...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, Allie Larder is in Landman. I only knew her... I guess she was also in Final Destination. I guess she was in some Final Destinations. But
she was in Legally Blonde.
Was she? Okay, yeah. That... My Allie Larder opinion and hot take, especially at 7:04, which is prime children time. This is our prime children's hour here. That Allie Larder take needs to be reserved for the Not Safe for Work podcast that we really need to be working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just her appreciation for whipped dairy products is highlighted in that movie.
Her appreciation for doing scenes without clothes apparently is. And she played, by the way, if you haven't seen Landman, not bad. I'm about 7 episodes in. It's Billy Bob Thornton being as Billy Bob Thornton as you would think Billy Bob Thornton could be. But it's pretty good. It's okay.
I've actually heard it's pretty good.
It's not bad. She's a little over the top. There's some stuff. Again, that's more for the Not Safe for Work podcast of the early game that we maybe should get into and develop here in 2025. But it leads. So now you know who Bud Kilmer is.
Solid pick.
Don't send me down my path of, if you, again, it would anger a lot of people who take things way too seriously. That Bud Kilmer, when you win 22 district titles and you've done things that appear to be winning, and then you get Jonathan Moxon who shows up and basically ruins everything. I blame a lot more of that on Moxon than I do on Bud Kilmer.
Okay.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, we will have to have a fight on it because, my gosh, he's horrible. That coach is horrible.
Oh, I'm sorry. What quarterback did the coach organize a offensive group meeting at a place of ill repute? An overnight place? Strip club.
Oh, yeah. Where one of the teachers was had a side gig.
Jonathan Moxon took that whole program down.
Yeah, okay.
He took that whole thing down.
Wow, talking about somebody who's just looking to stir a pot or something. Because no, that the coach in that movie, he was terrible, and you just wanted to punch his lights out. And if you have not seen Varsity Blues, I encourage you to watch it.
I'm sorry, Jonathan. They had an offensive system.
Oh, they
that
did.
had worked for 22 district titles, and Moxon wants to come in and run the oop-de-oop.
Yeah, or maybe protect
Wanted to run his own system.
Yeah. Okay.
Develop it. Let's go. I'm all for it.
I don't want to go to. This is a summertime topic, but I can defend.
All right, what other sports villains we got?
Urban Meyer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he's a villain. He's not a
He's
sports
a legitimate.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah.
Textil goes with got to be Dorkowitz.
Now we're cooking. We threw him in the lake.
Yep. Again, Urban Meyer. John goes with Dabo as the ultimate villain, crybaby that gets no respect. Todd goes an interesting one. Did someone mention Mike Price's name?
He not good enough to be qualified as a villain. He's just an idiot. He was very stupid, but not qualified as. I think one of the key components of being the sports villain is you got to win. I think that's a key component.
Ronnie goes with a good one. Jack Leggett, villain for sure. Former Clemson baseball coach.
Solid.
There's a lot of people who would get on board with that, especially when I think he accused Saint Ray Tanner, and his team of Saints for the University of South Carolina for heating up the bats back in the day. Another texter goes with Kim Mulkey. Another texter goes with Nick Saban as sports villain.
Saban can definitely qualify, especially folks that were on the other side of those beatings that he was handing out for years and years and years.
Speaking of what you saw, that obviously Kalen DeBoer, first 4-loss season for Alabama since the arrival, since I think 06 or 07, I can't remember the exact stat. It just goes to show you what exactly Saban had built there with success and sustained success. And I think sometimes we still don't appreciate Ray Tanner for the amount of sustained success. Ray Tanner just never did anything to be a villain, right? Like even amongst the rest of the league and other baseball teams, they had a hard time looking at Ray Tanner and the way he did things, the way he acted and everything to make him a villain.
Yeah, that's a tough one, especially, again, you have to have the component of winning, but then when the other coach is not doing something that's necessarily grating on your nerves, it's that makes it maybe even worse.
803.
Then you have to respect the other coaches. Like, I don't want to do that.
Get a lot of y'all weighing in, and we'll get to those. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the phone lines. Ernest wants to weigh in on a sports villain. Who you got for us, Ernest, and how you doing this morning?
Got two. You got Lane Kiffin with the fake injuries, and then somebody who's not coaching anymore, but Jack Leggett.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Jack Leggett, definitely for South Carolina fans, mid-2000s, Preston was very high up on the sports villain list for South Carolina. I'd have put him – he was probably villain number one from Clemson over Tommy Bowden. Dabo took over late 2000s. Oliver Purnell never did anything to offend anybody. He just kind of won some basketball games. But, I would say number one Clemson villain for South Carolina in the 2000s, between 2000 and 2010, would have been Jack Leggett.
And again, what are we hearing? These people are what makes sporting interesting, makes you want to pay attention, makes you want to tune in. You're not just watching the game. You're watching him in the dugout. You're watching when he comes out and talks to the umpires. That's what you want to see out of these coaches, as opposed to Tommy Bowden. I mean, okay. Those some of those people that we've had. We had a run. We had a run of villains, even here in the football program. Like I said, Lou Holtz, Steve Spurrier, Muschamp. There was a run, and quiet as kept, Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer's the baby face that everybody else in the crowd might love, but a good percentage of folks were like, oh, he's a villain.
And the key, I think, to being a villain is you need people to defend you, too. Mm-hmm. Right? Jacob and Langston says Saban is a hero, not a villain. And he goes, how about Bob Knight? Yeah, Bobby Knight showing up on a lot of these. Bill Belichick, Coach K showing up a little bit, and just a whole group of them. The whole Miami football team in the late 80s.
Okay. But I don't see Beamer as a villain. I just don't. I think he's...
We don't.
Well,
that's the key.
And again, talking to my nephew, where he said, oh, I can tell you the disdain you have for Bielema is, the same as what our U of I has for Beamer. And I'm like, how is that even possible? They are two, as far as I'm concerned, polar opposite. I'll defend my coach to the, to the hill.
That's what makes for a good villain.
Yeah.
There you go. So, yeah, I'm with Preston on that. There's some Tennessee fans still hold a grudge against, and will forever hold a grudge against Beamer for that 63-38 victory that we, apparently stole their plays from Connor Stallions and had their playbook and all, again, conspiracy theorists.
A good coach could work around that.
It's very true. Very true. 803-404-6100. Keep sending those in. We'll get back to those, get into a few other things. But next up, let's get into a little bit of high school highlights. Give the high school guys and girls a little bit of love this weekend as we go into more high school basketball, softball, and baseball just around the corner. A lot to get to. Chris Deering will join us and give us the breakdown. You're listening to The Early Game.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, give you a free quote for any job, and if they do the job, they'll take it away for you. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
And on the highways this morning, we're still seeing I-77 southbound after Forest Drive and Broad River Road at I-20. Still a report of a slowdown there due to an earlier accident. But we are going to see sunny skies, 47 for the high today, overnight low 23. Saturday, 51 and 27 for the overnight low. And come Sunday, up to 56. We are going to find the 60s by Tuesday. Looking forward to that, but still means needing to bundle up this morning. 26 is where we are currently on the early game.
We'll be joined here in just a minute by Chris Deering and get into a little high school highlights of the week, get back into some sports villains, and get into a little bit more of tonight's women's game. We might have to have an intervention with Dawn Staley as well, Preston Thorne. we may have to sit Coach down for 2 minutes to discuss a new fashion trend she seems to have just discovered.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. That's the thing. It's not a new trend. I thought the trend was very clearly gone. And apparently she has the moxie to be able to pull it off because it is interesting to say the least.
We'll tell you about that. We looked up, I don't know if it's an older segment or what, but on the SEC network, they were just interviewing her, and we'll discuss a fashion trend that either she is just now learning about and not letting go of, or what's happening. But we may have to have an intervention with Dawn Staley here later on in the program. 803-404-6100 if you want to text in. Joined now for the high school highlights of the week as we are in that kind of transition period. Basketball, wrestling taking place. You got the girls' side of things taking place. Lots going on, and we're starting to transition into the track and field and baseball, softball. I believe lacrosse is lacrosse a springtime sport, Jen? Is that correct? Jen, you're the lacrosse expert here?
I'm the lacrosse expert.
Well, Patrick Pratt's gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, my son played, and I loved it.
There you go.
And Clemson has invested a ton of money in the women's lacrosse.
Okay.
So
there we go. All right. Well, Chris Deering, in a few weeks, we'll test your knowledge of the high school lacrosse and see if you can become our expert, or if we have to turn to Jen for that. How's that?
That works fine for me. I love a little bit of lacrosse, though, Bill. It's fun stuff.
Awesome. We're glad to have you in this morning, as we do each and every Friday. Basketball in full effect, though, right now, and a fun Monday over, I believe it was at Keenan, with the Martin Luther King Jr. Bash taking place that you got the chance to check out a little bit.
Yeah, it was over at Eau Claire, actually, this year. And, you know, always good to be back in that gym. It's a different gym than what George Glipp and his team played in, but always nice to be back over there at Eau Claire and see that facility. I'm actually heading to Columbia High tonight, another school, and got a lot of history. But, yeah, the MLK Bash happened on Monday. Only 5 games because the weather for the whole week, you know, threw everything off a little bit. Sumter wanted to play their game on Monday night to go ahead and get it in, so they backed out at the last minute. But there were still some really good games. Ridgeview started it off. They defeated Ruff and Casey in the first game by about 20-plus points. They showed why they're the number 1 team in Class 5A Division. Division 2? And they are they're the team to beat. That's who everybody's gunning for right now. I know Burns and Riverside played last night in Upstate in a really good matchup as well. But I think Ridgeview is the team to beat with what they have coming back from that state championship team last year, and they dominated Brooklyn Casey from the outset. And then the marquee matchup probably on Monday was Keenan against Crestwood. Keenan came in number 4 in 3A. Crestwood was number 3 in 4A, and Keenan came out on top 67-61 in that one. I've said it all these years we've been doing this. There's a couple of coaches you just don't want to see in the postseason. Tom Knotts in football is one of them. Zach Norris in basketball. Deion Mathey before he left to go to Georgia Southern as assistant at Great Collegiate. You just don't want to see those guys in the playoffs. And, Zach Norris played a tough schedule. He's right around 500. He don't have the best record, but he don't care about any of that. He wants to have his team ready for February and early March. And, playing against a really good Crestwood team, they were tested and they came out on top. Brian Sumter, their senior, I think he's going to Wofford, scored 20 points, and just a all-around good game by Keenan in that game.
I forgot to get to this last week, so let's give him a little bit of love right now as you kind of scroll through a couple, both boys and girls teams really representing Summerville. Preston Thorne's Summerville team, number 5 in the boys D1 top 10, 5A D1 top 10. The Summerville girls representing as well as they are number 3 in the D1 girls top 10 and 5A. But the one I wanted to get to, give a little shout out to North Augusta, number 1 in the boys 4A top 10. The girls for North Augusta, number 2 behind South Point in the 4A girls top 10. What do you know about North Augusta so far this year?
Well, I can tell you the North Augusta girls are no surprise. They are there historically year in and year out. I've watched them many times in the state championship over the past decade, so that's sort of expected for North Augusta girls to be there. But that North Augusta boys team is loaded. We mentioned Brooklyn Casey earlier. Brooklyn Casey's ranked in 4A, and they went on the road and played North Augusta last week and came out short on the short end of that stick. But North Augusta's talented. They're deep. They have a lot of talent top to bottom. And you look at North Augusta, you look at Lancaster. Lancaster's been there a number of times as well in the past couple of years, just haven't been able to get over the hump. We mentioned Crestwood. Wren's number 3. I think, matter of fact, right now tonight, I think we're at the halfway point of region play with the way things stand. And I think this North Augusta team probably is the team to beat in 4A. Lancaster might have something to say about that. Wilson is really good. South Point boys are really good. But for 4A, and looking at the 4A girls, don't forget Lower Richland. Aaron Lucas coaching over there, got that program really playing really well. But South Point's good, North Augusta's good, Lower Richland's good. Those are 3 really good teams on the girls' side of things.
Yeah, we need to get Aaron Lucas and JoJo English back in here soon to talk about that. You mentioned Aaron Lucas's girls' team tied right now, 4A girls top 10. They are at least what I'm looking at here with the South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association top 10, number 2. Looking ahead to tonight, I know the weather's been a little funny, a little off. It's kind of messed up some things. What do you have for a few games to keep an eye on here in the Midlands tonight?
Well, like I said, for the Watch 57 game that we are broadcasting tonight, I'm going over to Columbia High to see Columbia High and Eau Claire, two really historical good teams in the Midlands. Don't know. I'll be honest. We usually get a packet early in the week, but the school being out, the coach has been a little bit slow getting things back. So hopefully I get some more information on them today. I know for Eau Claire, Destiny Tiller is a name to watch. So looking forward to seeing her play. I think tonight we also have Lexington and River Bluff, and Lexington's down from years past, but it's you sort of throw the records out when you put those 2 schools in a gym, and it's gonna be packed, and a lot of people's gonna be following in. So I think that's another one to keep an eye on tonight. And then outside of that, it's been sort of a weird week because nobody's been in school since really Monday. I think they got early dismissal on Tuesday. So none of these teams have practiced. None of these teams have picked up a ball in a practice scenario since Monday. So this could be a different thing tonight, I believe, all across the Midlands and probably even down into the Low Country. I think they're back playing tonight as well. But this could be, again, I can't, I know these kids went somewhere and got some shots up somewhere, but they couldn't do it in a practice scenario. So it should be interesting to see how all these teams react tonight.
Yeah, it'll be another really good night of basketball. Before we let you out of here, though, let's transition real quick. Tonight, Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey. Look, you're a fan of sport. You're a fan of basketball. You're a fan of just great competition. And tonight, you get two incredible competitors in Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey leading their teams into this game. Your thoughts, real quick, on South Carolina and LSU for tonight?
Yeah, I would have been there if they'd have played last night, but I know LSU couldn't get out of Louisiana. But that's going to be that's one of the marquee matchups in women's basketball this season. South Carolina, wants to keep that SEC streak going, that home court streak going. And Kim Mulkey would love nothing more than to come in here and end both of those streaks tonight. These two teams don't really like each other. I think that's been proven over the years. So it should be a great atmosphere, very competitive performance. I think UCLA and LSU are the last two unbeatens in Division I women's basketball. South Carolina's lost to UCLA, so they get a chance to knock LSU out of the ranks of the unbeaten. So, I will be keeping an eye on that one as we're getting ready to broadcast our game tonight. But I will be keeping an eye on that one to see how it's going over at the CLA.
Chris, we always appreciate it. I'm kind of scrolling. Next week, we'll go through some particular games. I do see that there is, I'm going off of Max Preps right now, but a really good one with Westwood and Blythewood tonight if these games are holding true to the schedule. So we've got a lot of good ones. Next week, we'll get into some specific games as it pertains around the Midlands. Irmo, Dutch Fork tonight. That one should be a really good one. Brett Jones' team, a top 10 team here in the Midlands. So it's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Definitely stay safe traveling. Good luck with your game, Columbia and Eau Claire. To remind people how they can catch that tonight or listen in.
It's on Spectrum Cable, the secondary channel for Watch 57, and then it's also on streaming on Watch.com, and you just go to the High School Hoops page, and you're able to stream all of our games on there on Friday night, and then they're archived, I think, up by Monday. So I don't ever go back and watch myself. Don't want to critique myself too bad. So everybody else can critique me and tell me how I do.
Don't worry. That's what we do here on this program. So we'll try and do that as well, buddy. Be safe tonight with the weather and everything, and look forward to catching up next week.
All right, sounds good. Y'all have a great weekend.
You too. That's Chris Deering for our Friday high school highlights of the week. We'll come back. We'll talk more villains and maybe an intervention with Dawn Staley. We'll get into that. It's the early game.
Hey, they say perfection is a journey, and our journey led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. We renovated a couple bathrooms, needed new cabinetry, got that taken care of, and then we needed countertops. And we were told to go to Carolina Stone Craftsman, and I'm telling you, we have not looked back. Their showroom is fantastic. I encourage you to tour that. They were very good about educating and helping guide you as to maybe what might work best for your particular situation. They have an outdoor display that is phenomenal, and I can't wait to start telling you more about the yardscapes and landscapes that they do with all of their stonework. It's beautiful stuff. They are so talented. It's a great family-owned business. And I tell you, if you're in the market for countertops for your kitchen or bath, I do encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman and tell them that Jen Jensen sent you. They're family-owned and operated. Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia and Chapin, and definitely beyond your expectations. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com. And seeing just a few things out on the highway to make you aware of, and that's Broad River Road at I-20. We did have an earlier accident, but that has fortunately been cleared, so no other slowdowns to speak of. 47, that is where we'll top out today with sunny skies. Sunny tomorrow, 51, 56 on Sunday, 52 with maybe some morning showers on Monday, but then we get into the 60s for a couple days, so that's going to be something to look forward to, but in the meantime, definitely want to be bundling up this morning because we're sitting at 26 currently on 107.5 The Game.
And I don't care.
I'm a villain. Glamorous and mean. I'm a villain. Darling, I'm a villain.
Don't you cry now, it will all be fine. I'm a villain. I'm a villain.
Familiar with this tune, Bill?
I am not. My daughter's 15, Bo.
This would be I'm a Villain by Opaline Arcane in the My Little Pony series. It's a banger. We've been playing this one constantly, and as we was talking about coaching villains, this song instantly came to mind where she talks how she walks past the mirror and she scares herself because she's the villain. She doesn't give out any cutie marks to anybody in the whole kingdom, and so she's definitely the bad guy of the whole series, but she relishes it. But you know, deep down, she really wants to. There's a backstory, and there's a reason why she's been a villain. So we've been talking about coaching villains, and I figured the song was appropriate.
We got a couple here. Text weighs in. Rick Barnes, which, to North Carolina basketball fans, is a villain. That's from Steven. Another texter, and a person from Clint, our Peep guy, relishes, agrees. Lane Kiffin, who probably relishes being the villain. I think he enjoys it, right?
I think he does.
Like him and the Twitter, he's definitely working on it. Austin goes with the Chiefs are working their way toward villainhood.
But here's the problem with the Chiefs. There's a lot of things that you could put in a villain category, except they have Andy Reid. And he's like the patron saint of goodness. And everybody loves Andy Reid. And so it's tough to put the villains on the Chiefs while Andy Reid is at the helm.
When he has like a frozen mustache.
Yeah, it's like man, we love this guy.
Yeah, lovable.
He is. It's weird that Andy Reid is basically in the second act of his career, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if failure is the right word, but it's pretty close to failure when we talk about what he did with the Eagles.
Very close to the Mark Richt situation with Georgia. Maybe the approaching Tomlin situation. Just could never get over the hump. They got to the Super Bowl once, but they were an awesome franchise for a long time. Won a lot of games, had success in the playoffs, but could never get over the hump. And now in the second act of his career, he's doing very impressive.
Yeah,
very impressive.
You look at the quarterbacks he's coached too. Obviously, we forget he was the leader of the Donovan McNabb
for sure
era there with the Eagles, and certainly again just not quite able to get over the hump, but more than has made up for that now with the Chiefs, and that'll lead us to. So are they the villains of the playoff weekend? It feels like the Commanders. The Commanders are kind of the cute, cuddly story with Jaden Daniels
and Dan Quinn on his second time around.
Yep. And it feels like the Eagles are kind of, I don't know where we kind of put the Eagles in this.
Sirianni has some villainous tendencies. He's
kind of laying low.
He has some tendencies. I think he fits the Philadelphia fan base. I think they're good for each other. They like to kind of go back and forth and yell and cuss at each other. So they probably are perfect, but he does have some tendencies.
And then Buffalo still got a little bit of a 90s stench on them from where you're like, oh, they're here, but they're not going to be able to get over the hump.
Yeah, and I think that's why this villain is sort of building up with Kansas City, because we want to see Buffalo win. The fans are long-suffering. Bills Mafia is tremendous. Josh Allen is awesome. It's a great story. Just don't know if it's going to be enough.
It's in terms of quarterbacks this weekend, you mentioned Jalen Hurts has been to a Super Bowl. We know what Patrick Mahomes has done. Jaden Daniels can really start a career arc in his rookie year by getting to a Super Bowl. But for Josh Allen, there's nobody that this weekend is bigger for than Josh Allen this weekend. He's got to get – at some point, you have to knock off one of these guys. All right, you got past Lamar Jackson. Now you got to get through the Chiefs. And, I mean, this is starting to turn into whatever we always think of Peyton Manning. It was a lot for him to get through Tom Brady and the Patriots.
Yeah, he could not for a lot of that time period. And that's the conversation we were having as far as comparing Peyton Manning to Lamar Jackson, how they had similar stats. And there was always this final boss sitting in front of him. For Peyton Manning, it was the Patriots. For Lamar Jackson, it's been the Chiefs/Bills. And now Josh Allen has to overcome this in order for him to take his rightful place, because he's awesome. He's an amazing quarterback. But in order for him to take his rightful place, he has to overcome the villains in the Chiefs.
803-404-6100. Several of y'all weighing in. Walt goes with Nick Sirianni, the biggest villain, also such a dork, sort of like Drinkowitz.
Yeah, there's something there for that. If we're doing villain rankings, all the rest of these dudes are pretty likable. Andy Reid, Dan Quinn, Sean McDermott, they're all pretty likable. Sirianni's the only one that's like, I don't know about that guy.
Texter weighs in. Jerry Jones is a villain, and I'm a Cowboy fan.
It's true.
Underrated villain because it's college baseball, but I agree. Tennessee baseball coach Tony Vitello.
On his way?
Probably if you pay a little more attention, he's up there. He's got the dark hair. It feels like it's slicked back, probably some oil and grease in that thing.
He has a mullet-ish cut.
His teams tend to play with a little bit of villain tendencies. They're brash. They hit home runs. They brag about it. They flip bats. Tony Vitello is a really, really good one. Here's an up-and-comer, kind of on the waiting list. This is from another texter. If Syracuse keeps winning, Fran Brown could move into a villain role.
He's good on the mic. There's a possibility that he could talk himself into being a villain. He's lovable right now. I gave him the Mike Man of the award this year. He was awesome. But yes, I do see a future where he becomes a villain. That is a possibility.
A couple of y'all have weighed in this morning with Bill Belichick as a coaching villain. And then I'll leave you with this, and we'll hit the break before coming back for a slight fashion intervention with Dawn Staley as we notice she continues to wear the big hat. Is Mitch Jeter a villain?
Ooh.
Or did he lose villain status? Did we just relegate him after they didn't win a national championship?
Yeah, I think that one cooled off a little bit. I think he cooled off, and then he did not perform as well as he needed to in the championship game. So I think we're good on that one.
803-404-6100. As I said, we'll come back. We'll get back into a little bit of tonight's game. Reminder, you will be able to hear the pregame for South Carolina LSU right here, 4:30 this afternoon on 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. We'll have the pregame for you at 4:30. Tip-off slated for 5 o'clock where villain Kim Mulkey brings LSU into town looking for their first win in this will be the 17th try, right? 16 straight for South Carolina and Dawn Staley over LSU. So they will be looking for their first win in their 17th try. That's right. And Coach, we love you, but we got to discuss some fashion here with you. We'll do that when we come back. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru. That's right, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. And I know we are almost about to wrap up January here. 1 month down, 11 more to go. But you might be thinking about what you're going to do during those 11 months with your home. Are you going to refinance? Are you looking to upgrade, downsize? Whatever you're trying to do, the very first thing you need to do is call Jacob Crowder, the Mortgage Guru, and find out what products, what money, what interest rates are available to you. I know you've been watching the news this week. There's a lot of stuff in flux, a lot of things changing. So right now is the time to call Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005. Again, see what is available for you. See what First Palmetto Bank has available as options. Call. You might learn something like the community reinvestment product in areas for Richland County, Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, in the I-20 corridor, where right now they are offering a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. So now is the time to give them a phone call and learn more about that. 803-719-1005. You can also email him, the letter J, Crowder, at firstpalmetto.com. That's how you can get in touch with him. Again, ask him about the community reinvestment product for Richland County. It'll be something that might be of big interest to you. 803-719-1005. Call the Mortgage Guru today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you. $7:49 as we get you up and get you going on your Friday morning. Stay warm out there. Again, I know a lot of people are starting off the morning with a 2-hour delay for school, so get the kids up slowly, get them a donut. I just learned via email today, I don't know when the actual day is, but it is National Compliment Day. This is what Krispy Kreme is telling me, where you can get, I guess, 2 dozen donuts for $20 because they complement each other.
Oh, well, that's a nice little...
Interesting.
I did see it's National Compliment Day.
Is today National? Because they did this a few weeks ago, but whatever day it was, I think it was like National Pop-Tart Day or something. It was like on a Friday. It was on a Sunday, but they did the deal through the weekend. So I'm looking. So now I now know what breakfast will be for the kids all weekend. 2 dozen donuts. So, but National today.
Father of the Year.
I am, and Uncle of the Year for all the kids out there heading to school this morning. Convince the parents. Swing by a donut shop, grab a donut. Most teachers, I guess, would thank you for bringing a donut instead of an apple to the classroom.
For sure.
Yeah. So, but it's National Compliment Day, Jen. Just saying, if you want to live by the day, you might want to,
Preston, you do a fantastic job on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You've developed, you've grown, you've become quite the host.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Chalk that up to myself. And remember not to give Jen any compliments moving forward. Speaking of compliments.
Fine host there, Bill.
I love all of y'all. Speaking of compliments, I don't think we can give one to Dawn Staley for the big hat.
Yes, you can. She was
Are we past the big hat?
Oh, no. She was at the game
Is this not, have we not moved through this fashion? This was the recruit the picture taking where you wear the big hat? I thought we were past it. Like the Dow Loggins with the big hat.
We have a timeline on this. The big hat originally made his debut in 2022, which, by the way, it's kind of getting back there.
Yeah, it is starting to move back there.
It's starting to move backward in time. The big hat is produced by a company called the Noggin Boss. They are the original big hat makers. Apparently, there's been counterfeit big hats made. So if you are in the business of getting a big hat, Noggin Boss is your official dealer for these. But it was a thing. Apparently, Coach has not let the thing go. And this is prime if you want to embarrass your kids. I think if you show up with the big hat on at an event, your kids are guaranteed to be embarrassed. But here's the conundrum. She's such a fashion icon that maybe she can pull this off. Because she's so...
No. Because here's what this is. And we've laughed about this. Dawn Staley low-key has dad joke vibes.
Very strong dad joke energy, for sure.
Very strong, laughs at her own jokes, throws a few out there. What was the one from LSU? It was LSU last year. What was it where she said that she thought that LSU was calling her...
They thought they were calling her boo.
Boo, yeah. And then she laughed at that. This is Dawn Staley, I feel like, wearing the big hat. And she was rocking it the other night. Like, the first time they showed it when she was at the South Carolina Florida game, I was like, oh, okay. She must be just wearing that as like a gag here, like during the first half. But then she continued to wear it all game long. And the reason this really came to our attention is because we've got the SEC Network here, the SEC Now show on. And I don't know when this interview took place, if it was yesterday or if it was live this morning. But they interviewed her here, and we're watching it in the studio. And she was wearing the big hat again as if she had not taken it off for 3 straight days.
Here's another conundrum. You're sitting behind Coach Staley, which is awesome. It's
I thought about that.
Coach Staley's here, man. I get to sit behind her. But she has this tremendous hat, and you can't see around it. You're like, what? How do I ask the greatest coach of all time to just, hey, Coach, could you kind of remove that hat? I can't see.
Yeah.
Tough spot.
Yeah.
Tough spot to be in.
But I don't think it's totally gone away because, like William Byron last year, NASCAR driver, he uses the big hat thing for sponsors, for Hendrick, so it's not totally done.
Is the big hat here to stay?
But I feel like, again, it's big hat dad energy. Like, you're showing up. And so Dawn, we've heard her talk about, this team in particular and the chitter chatter and just kind of it's a daycare and everything. But I feel like this is her way of, I don't want to say embarrassing her,
she's getting
her
them
girls.
back.
But it's kind of okay, you want to do this? I'll wear this hat out in public and follow you through the mall.
Yeah. It's definitely that. It's definitely when she walks into practice with the hat on, they're like, Coach, come on, Coach.
Because, you feel like the kids are the ones that have moved past
They've
this
definitely
specifically.
moved on. Yeah, they've moved on way past
Like,
it.
if Shane Beamer's got a big junior day recruiting weekend this weekend, if they show up and he had the big hats lined up, the kids would be like, man, he's out of touch with out of touch with what we're trying to do here as
so
kids.
2022, Coach. So past.
But and this is the part, Dawn can pull it off because Dawn's got that kind of energy.
She absolutely can.
She has the confidence to do it, and we know her as a fashion icon.
And if she went and coached the game tonight in an Eagles bathrobe, that would be the next trend.
It's true.
She can do it.
A Gucci bathrobe.
Yeah, Gucci.
Not just any. Yeah.
Yeah, but listen, she's representing the Eagles. But maybe it's a Gucci Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will weighs in on the text line, says the next step is for her to coach in it. Wear the big hat.
Wow. That'd be pretty funny, actually.
Can you imagine her getting upset with Malaysia Fulwiley and then
these are
having
the
to try
stats
to
I'm
slam the hat down?
Oh man.
I don't even know the physics of these things. I don't know how they work.
So on the video, I looked. So it looks like inside it's the really cushioned foam that kind of keeps it to your. Because I
haven't seen one in real life.
I know during Christmas when a couple times I went into some of the bookstores, they're for sale.
You seen one?
Yeah, they're in the bookstores.
Okay.
At the down by the stadium.
Oh, see, so they're still popular. Kids may still be into them.
Maybe.
Hopefully, we're still popular. Hour 3 on the way. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it's that history. That's why they've been around. Because of that, you know that they're going to get the job done for you in a timely manner, and they're going to do it that is pleasing to your operation. And that's what's important, keeping your operation, whether it's your home or your business, dry and running long into the future. So give them a phone call today. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are ready to help you. 803-356-1919. That's how you can reach out to Mid-State Roofing today. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Aiken, Augusta, Charleston, wherever you're listening in this great state, Mid-State Roofing is there for you. They want to keep your operation dry and running. And again, they are available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You give them a phone call, you speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. You know what they say? If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
And still, things pretty good overall out there on the highways this morning. We do not see any accidents at this point, and that's really good news. We'll welcome that today. We've had a couple days of kind of yuck, so it's time to get a little bit of a break. 47 under sunny skies today. Still going to be cold overnight, 23. Tomorrow, sunny and 51. The overnight low of 27. And by Sunday, mix of clouds and sun, 56 will be our high. So looking forward to that. Bundle up. It's 25 right now on 107.5 The Game.
$8 a.m. on your Friday morning. I know it's been a wild week really throughout the state for the school districts, for parents. So let's all get through a Friday and get into a weekend where, as Jen has said, I guess it's a little warmer. What did you say? 51, the high, I believe, tomorrow, which.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty manageable.
I was going to say, it's going to feel like a day at the beach after what we've gone through for the majority of this week. And
yeah, it's going to feel really good. It's like shorts and a jacket weather at that point.
I don't know about shorts. Let's not go like wild and crazy here. This isn't. But yes, you're right. At least you're not bundling up like you're going out for Antarctic expeditions and doing some kind of deep snow travel because.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be able to walk outside and not feel and walk around like, oh, shoot, I'm going to slip here or slip there. You know, you can walk freely. But, yeah, maybe not shorts. But compared to the way it's been, it'll probably feel like it could be shorts weather.
Either of you have that one step where you stepped on some ice and heart jumped a little bit in the last 2 days?
No, but I definitely understand what you're talking about, and that's a huge fear of mine. Do not want to do that.
Walked out, I believe it was yesterday afternoon, to put some trash in the trash can, and it wasn't comical or anything. It wasn't like I did the cartoonish.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I didn't do but there was a just enough of a slip to where I realized at 42, if I'd have gone down, would have stayed down. Mm-hmm. I didn't have my life alert on me to try and get anybody. I'd have laid there for a little while in pain. Thankfully, it was kind of behind the car, so the neighbors wouldn't have seen it. I'd have just been laying in agony and pain by myself and a little embarrassment. But, yeah, thankfully we're moving past that, too.
The problem is you used to be able to just slip and fall and, keep that to yourself. But now with everybody having the Ring cameras.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point,
everybody sees it now, so it's not just you.
Thankfully, as you say that, I realize now it was just off to the right of my camera. So
yeah, that's the toughest part because when you slip out in public, your first thing is to look and see if anybody saw you. But now everybody's going to see you.
Yeah, and somebody may have had a camera rolling in general, so there could be multiple angles of your faux pas.
Yeah. So, but we will move to at least some warm weather, and I believe I know we got another cold. I'm sure we've got 2 or 3 more cold snaps coming. But, Jen, I believe you mentioned earlier as well, starting next week, we bounce up a little bit. We're going to go into some 60s, I believe, next Thursday. Tuesday is going to be 62. Wednesday, look out, everybody. Next Wednesday, the 29th, is according to my weather app. I can't speak for Jen and where she's getting hers. But next Wednesday is 67 degrees. So a little bit of taste, just a slight taste of the spring before we move back to next Friday, a week from today, where we, by the way, the next Friday will be 50 degrees, but we will be good and warm indoors over at Pro Swing. Don't forget, they got their winter indoor golf tournament. That's where I was last week. Preston, you were a little under the weather, couldn't make it, but you'll get to join me next Thursday and Friday. We'll be over at Pro Swing over on Forest Drive, hanging out and playing a little indoor golf where the weather is always wonderful. The first annual Pro Swing Golf Classic, the 3-day event starting again next Wednesday, the 30th, 31st, and 1st. It's $150 to register, a 2-man team. Bookings are available 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can get some food as well. First place, they got a prize. First place gets $1,000, $750 for second place, and $500 for third. We, 107.5 The Game, will be drawing Gamecock baseball season tickets that you could win just by registering. So get registered today for the Pro Swing First Annual Golf Tournament, Indoor Golf Tournament, 803-528-1617. Again, that's 803-528-1617. We've been talking coaching villains and been getting you set for tonight's game this afternoon's game, 5 o'clock over at Colonial Life Arena. So get all your work done early, Preston. Get out, throw on your big hats, and start tailgating in the Vista. 4:30 pregame right here at 107.5 The Game, 5 o'clock tip-off. Dawn Staley against Kim Mulkey, South Carolina against LSU. I go back to my 90s days, Preston, and in the SEC in particular, it feels like in each sport always has that one game, that rivalry. In the 90s, it was Tennessee, Florida. You've always got Alabama, Auburn. You've always got Florida, Georgia. You've got Georgia, Auburn. You get the point. But it feels like we've always got that one game that stands out. South Carolina, Tennessee for a few years was that in women's basketball. Now it's South Carolina, LSU.
Yeah, this is the game. And LSU made this conscientious effort when they lured Kim Mulkey away from Baylor to make a push in women's basketball, and they've done it. They've been tremendously successful. But much like we talk about Josh Allen, much like we talk about trying to get over that final hump, the final boss is Dawn Staley, and they have not been able to overcome that. Again, 16 times in a row for LSU as a whole. That predates Kim Mulkey, but also Kim Mulkey's lost the last 4 to Dawn Staley. So it's a huge game. Yes, it's about the players. It's not about the coaches, but we all know as far as professional pride, you always want to take down the person that is considered the top dog, especially when you think of yourself as that.
Game again, 5 o'clock. It will be broadcast on ESPN. No College Game Day here. So discussing Kim Mulkey has led us to discussing coaching villains. And the big part about being a villain is you got to have the personality go along with it. You can't just win a lot and be kind of mundane and boring. You need to have a personality. Lane Kiffin fits that mold. Grumpy Bill Belichick fits that mold. Bobby Knight had a personality to where he fit that mold. We're trying to see if there's anybody else. There's nobody really. Nick Sirianni is now becoming the hands-down favorite when you start talking about the 4 coaches that we'll see on Sunday in the NFL playoffs.
Yeah, I think he's probably the de facto villain of this group, because the rest of them, Andy Reid's not that. We all love Andy Reid. Dan Quinn is rebuilding his image, but even when he was with the Falcons, generally consensus good guy. And Sean McDermott with Buffalo,
couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
Probably could not figure out who he was. I mean, obviously he spent some time with the Panthers, but you're right. You could not pick him out of a lineup. So Sirianni is the default villain because he has an edge to him. You can see the clips of him cursing at his fan base, and the Philadelphia fans just see it as a sign of love, and they're like, let's curse at each other. Let's just get in a room and yell at each other. That's what they sort of like to do. So I think that is probably, if we had to pick a coaching villain, it would be Nick Sirianni.
So now if you just ranked the coaches in terms of good coaches, how would you go with that? Interesting group here to choose from. I think we both agree Andy Reid would be far and away number 1.
Yep.
And then after that, I don't think it's quite as simple as saying, oh, it's Sean McDermott, Dan Quinn, and then Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, they all have their faults. I think Dan Quinn is probably second because he's had the most sustained success over time. Sean McDermott has not proven that he can get his team over the hump. He's done some questionable things. Maybe sometimes he gets a little bit too conservative. Even did it last week a little bit. Mm-hmm. He hasn't proven that he can get his team over the hump. So I would say there's a tie at the bottom between Sean McDermott and Nick Sirianni, in my opinion.
Sirianni's second.
Okay.
Sirianni's overall record. Sorry, Siri. Siri is responding to me and telling me she didn't get it. My phone's sitting right here next to me.
That was wild.
Yeah, I was like, what's my phone doing? Nick Sirianni, this is year 4.
Mm-hmm.
He's in regular seasons, he has had 3 straight double-digit winning seasons. His first year, 2021, he was 9-8, lost to the Buccaneers in the wild card game. But since then, lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, had a 14-3 record, 11-6, lost to the Buccaneers again in the wild card game, and now again 14-3 this year, and has got the Eagles on the precipice of going to the Super Bowl again. It would be his second Super Bowl in 4 years. Dan Quinn's got a Super Bowl. He's got a Super Bowl appearance. Let me rephrase that. Super Bowl appearance. He should have a Super Bowl victory, and he found an impressive way to blow that. But, dude, Nick Sirianni quietly, I'd put him as one of the top 4 or 5 coaches in the NFL right now. Not in this 4-team ranking. I'm talking about overall in the NFL.
He is on that Ryan Day plan, because if you remember, Nick Sirianni was an inch away from being fired last year. His seat was extremely high.
What did they do? It was last year
where they lost 8 games in a row.
I want to say they lost their final 5.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say they were 11-1. Let me look that up.
He was very close to being not the head coach of, and it's been very hot, cold relationship. But yes, you do have the numbers, and you've stated they've won consistently. They've gone deep in the playoffs with him. There's no reason why he should be in that position, but that's sort of where he is.
Last year, going back to it, last year they were 10-1. They beat Buffalo thanks to the Thanksgiving weekend in overtime to move to 10-1, and then lost 5 of their last 6 regular season games before then losing in the wild card. So they lost 6 of the last 7 overall, but 5 of the last 6. But they were 10-1. I mean, he had them rolling along. He's the second best. If I'm actually ranking them, and I think this is fair, give me Andy Reid as 1, give me Sirianni as 2, give me Dan Quinn, who, because he's been to a Super Bowl, as 3, and Sean McDermott as 4.
So with that being said, are you saying that are you calling for a Chiefs-Eagles rematch in the Super Bowl? If they have the 2 best coaches? I assume
it's hard for me to. I don't want the Chiefs to win.
Okay.
I want the Bills and the Commanders in the Super Bowl.
All right.
I don't know. Some about that, just new blood. It's kind of exciting. Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. I'd love to see. You're right. Sean McDermott is vanilla cardboard. He's just as Joey Tribbiani would say. He's just moo. There's nothing there. But he's all right. But I would love to see them in it. Dan Quinn seems like a genuinely just good guy. He's Dan Campbell light, right? Like he's scruffy. He's got backwards hats going on. He's just, and I don't know. I just like him. Mm-hmm. And I don't dislike Andy Reid, and I really don't dislike Nick Sirianni. But I would just love to see one of those two, Dan Quinn, have a chance to win a Super Bowl and get back after. Number 1, it was humiliating to blow that lead. Number 2, poor Tyler Head still comes in here crying every morning. If we just even mention the Super Bowl, he just breaks down. We feel bad every morning.
Remember the exclusive we had for Patrick DeMarco when he was here, and we had to go to a deep, dark place for him.
Yeah,
talking about that Super Bowl. So yeah, we've had conversations about that.
So, but I would love to see Dan Quinn bounce back from that. Sean McDermott, I do think, is a really good coach. I'd love to see you're right, tortured fan bases. South Carolina fans, you know stuff about being a tortured fan base. The Buffalo Bills are up there as a tortured fan base.
Yeah, it'd be really fun for them to get this. I just don't know if Sean McDermott can get them over that spot. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. That's why these games coming up in this weekend are going to be really interesting to see.
By the way, to answer your question, I wouldn't financially bet against the Chiefs at home. And So I think the Chiefs win, and yes, the Eagles at home. I think it is a Chiefs-Eagles. That's my pick, but I would love to see it the other way where it's Bills-Commanders.
Why you have Sirianni as the second head coach, but Jalen Hurts is not the second best quarterback.
Yeah, I don't. You're right. He would be 4th.
Yeah, and that might be the thing that holds them up as far as can Jalen Hurts make a play to win a game. I don't know, but maybe he doesn't have to because they have Saquon Barkley who's running for 5,000 yards, so who knows?
803-404-6100. We'll stay on some NFL, get into a little coach speak, talk more quarterbacks, and we'll roll with that. Also continue down our path of coaching villains here and get back into some women's basketball tonight. Also, boy, if you're a general manager, does it sting when a coach decides he doesn't want your job but then wants it when you get fired?
Oh, this story is fascinating. What a great story.
We'll get into what occurred.
Is Liam Cohen the actual villain?
Well, in the Balky household, he is. Christmas next year might not be not as nice, all because of Liam Cohen. We'll fill you in on that story as well as we roll along. Friday morning, Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
We've been trying to tell you this whole time to get yourself ready for the outdoors. Get yourself ready so that you can watch all of these wonderful games outdoors. If you haven't done it yet, there's still time to call the folks at Integrated Media to get yourself ready for the spring that's around the corner. What do you need to do to get yourself set up? Give them a call or follow them at integratedmediainc.com. They can get you set up with Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, and Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors, so you can have all your devices going at the same time. Have your phone, have your computer, have your big screen. All your screens can be perfectly set up and able to run while you sit outside and enjoy the beautiful spring weather that's on the way. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. Call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com. That's online at integratedmediainc.com.
Wow, things are great this morning, traffic wise. Don't see any slowdowns. We're not seeing any reports of any accidents. And what we're also not doing, we're not complaining. We'll take that. We've earned the right to have a good travel morning. 47 will be the high today under sunny skies. It is still going to be cool tonight, 23 for the overnight low. Tomorrow, sunny and 51, 56 on Sunday. So warming trend coming up. Right now, though, sitting at 26 on the early game.
8:21. Get up and get going here on a Friday morning, January the 24th. Unbelievable kind of in a way that we are now basically 3/4 of the way through January at this point. And February, reminder, we haven't done it yet today. Reminder, 21 days. 21 days until Valentine's. More importantly, 21 days away from the beginning of the Paul Molinari era over at Founders Park. 21 days from first pitch and getting to see the Gamecocks on the baseball diamond. And I guess next Friday, here's the crazy thing. We talk about the start of football season and buying expired milk, and when your milk's actually next Friday, we will actually, at least on me, I know others can do this if you pay for it. Jen, I don't know how far out in advance the weather app you use for our technology, for our reports goes, but at least for me on my weather app on my phone, I can always get 2 weeks out. So next Friday, I'll be able to look at my phone and be like, ooh, here's the early forecast for that Friday for opening day.
Okay.
So get excited. I know the three of us, there's going to be an element of being more excited about baseball season this year to see what Ray Tanner, the final present, if you will, that Ray Tanner left us with Paul Molinari and what his baseball program will do.
I'm here for it, man. Papa's ready.
I'm with you. Preston, I know this. We've done this for a few years. The three of us have been together, and I know this is about as excited as you've been for the beginning of the.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's a new coach, new things coming into play. There's the sort of the old school feel towards coaching again. I don't know whether it was because of the slick black gray hair or the suit or whatever, but I think he just charmed me. When I met him, I was like, oh, yeah, I want to follow this guy. This is the dude.
Well, we do in August kind of like a media session over at Williams-Brice Stadium where a lot of the coaches speak. Coach Paris spoke, Paul spoke, Coach Paul spoke, Shane Beamer spoke, whatever coaches can get in there. And to our table to our left where we were sitting right next to us, we just watched. Now, remind you, back then we didn't know Ray Tanner was on the cusp of retirement and everything. But you and I and Jen, we sat there and we watched Paul Molinari and Ray Tanner, just two old baseball guys.
Yeah, that's fun.
Like in their element. It was like being at the zoo, just like we're tapping each other. Like, look at them. Look at the baseball.
And kind of a snappy outfit, he just
two good suits sitting there, just chopping it up, man. It was fun.
So there is an element. It feels like we've brought a Ray Tanner back to the baseball program to reestablish the program to what it was. And so 3 weeks from today, get your tailgating gear and get ready as the Gamecocks will hit the baseball diamond. I believe that game will be 4 o'clock. I'll confirm that, but against Sacred Heart over at Founders Park. 803-404-6100. Let's listen to a little bit of audio, Preston, here. We got some coaches speak you want to get to?
Yeah, let's just hear some from some of these coaches. Let's go in a little bit of rapid succession. So if we're going to go down, this is clip 14. This is Dan Quinn talking about where he sees the Commanders as far as their future and what they have in front of them.
I've been asked early and often as the team got together, what's your identity? And that took some time to answer, as it should. But while we have found our identity, what I hit with the team is that we still haven't found our ceiling. And that fires me up to say that at this time of year. And that's really what we chase about what we can do to get better and find our space to go for it again this weekend. And we've consistently raised the floor, but we haven't found that ceiling that we're going for. And that's kind of what the whole weeks are about, digging into the skills.
So it's really interesting to hear him say that they haven't found their ceiling. And I think that's normally I would dismiss that as coach speak, but with the way Jaden Daniels has been playing, I don't know if we've seen him be as good as he can be. He doesn't turn the ball over. He is capable of making every single throw on the field. He can make plays with his legs. So there is something to Dan Quinn saying that maybe this team hasn't found their ceiling because they have a quarterback who can not only make plays, but he doesn't make dumb plays either. And so that's a great combination right there.
What you got for us next?
So number 16, this is Nick Sirianni talking about containing Jaden Daniels, and this is where I think what the Eagles are going to have to try and do.
guess I've never really thought about it with him. I just think he's playing really good football. He makes good decisions with the football. He's really accurate with the football. Is able to create with his legs and extend also and make plays with his arm. And just got a lot of respect for how he's playing, and know we'll have to be on top of our game to stop him.
So Jaden Daniels is, I think, head and shoulders better than Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, because him being able to be dynamic. Jalen Hurts is, I know this is a dirty word in the quarterback community, but he's a game manager in my opinion. He can manage the game, but I think he's limited as far as the throws that he can make. If he has to throw the Eagles to a victory, I don't think he's capable of doing that. So I think he's a good game manager, whereas I think Jaden Daniels is a guy that can actually change the game for the Commanders.
I don't know what to think about Jalen Hurts.
That's fair.
I really don't. He's been to a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they were 10-1 last year, and I don't feel like I want to give him credit. His football as a whole storyline is pretty wild, right? Because of what happened at Alabama and then going to Oklahoma and winning the Heisman and now being there. And it almost feels like I want to follow you down that path of he doesn't deserve enough credit, whereas his football resume suggests that I'm not giving him enough credit.
He's very good. And I mean, he's a solid quarterback. He's a solid leader of the team. He's a solid everything that you would want out of a quarterback position. I just don't know if he is dynamic enough with his arm in order to be able to make the play that wins them the game. Neither did Nick Saban.
Right.
That's why he made the change when he did. So I think that's something that's followed him throughout his career. But as far as if I want a quarterback for my franchise, a guy that's going to be the leader, do everything right, get your organization going in the right direction, face of the franchise, I absolutely just don't know if he can make all of the plays. The next one we'll look at, let's listen to these talk to each other. 19 is Sean McDermott talking about how they're familiar with the Chiefs, and then 20 is Andy Reid basically saying, yeah, we know these guys. Let's get 19 first.
Yeah, I mean, we've played each other multiple times now. Initially when we first arrived here, we played in 2017, my first season out there, and then didn't play there was a gap in there of time. And then it seems like, when you have two good teams, two good organizations, that you kind of see each other frequently now. So we have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah, listen, it normally doesn't hurt, for sure. I don't know how you weigh out the advantage of it. But I feel like we play these guys all the time, so they know us, we know them. But I'm glad. To answer your question, I'm glad we have all those guys, and you'll need all of them. So.
This, again, can't be a rivalry until the Bills win. Until they get over the hump, it can't be a rivalry. But they have played amazing games. Remember the playoff game where Patrick Mahomes comes back in 13 seconds and gets them to overtime? This happens. The only concern I have is that Josh Allen has a tendency to try and do something stupid. And I don't know if there's enough room, if the margin of error is wide enough for him to do what he tends to try and do in games. He's great. He's awesome. Amazing. Just tends to do a couple of wild things on occasion.
Jen, we got our dun-dun-dun music. When we come back, I give you a stat.
Okay.
You're wrong, Mr. Thorne.
What about?
You are wrong.
About?
I'll tell you.
All right.
It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market. You've heard us talking about it all morning. Man, what a sports weekend we have upon us. From basketball this afternoon to college basketball tomorrow to the NFL playoffs. Why not just pack it up, sit at home, and enjoy with your television? And a great meal from Old Timey Meat Market. How about a great steak? It does feel like a steak weekend after a long week dealing with the weather. I'm sure you're ready to grill out tonight. And in an Old Timey Meat Market, you can visit one of their 3 locations and pick out a great bacon wrap filet, maybe a ribeye, maybe a T-bone steak, whatever you want. It feels like a good steak night. Maybe you want to go something different, and Old Timey Meat Market has you taken care of. Maybe it's the Italian chicken skewers or some great pork chops. Whatever it is, you can visit one of their 3 locations today: St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Congaree, or the Lexington store, where you're going to run into me, and pick up a great meal for tonight and this weekend. So stop by Old Timey Meat Market today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
In the Blythewood area, Fulmer Road near Mountain Valley Road, that is an accident that has been reported. The only one out there at this time, so great in that respect. Hope your travels are going well this morning. 47, that is where we'll end up today with sunny skies. Still going to have a couple chilly nights, 23 overnight. 51 with sun tomorrow, overnight 27. And by Sunday, a high of 56. And then we at least get into more like the upper 30s and 40s for overnight lows for a few days. So we'll take that. But right now, it's still kind of cold. 25 on 107.5 The Game.
8:35 as we slowly wrap up our Friday morning episode here, getting you ready again. 4:30 today, right here, 107.5 The Game. We'll have pregame coverage of South Carolina LSU. 5 o'clock will be the tip-off. Again, we'll have that for you right here on 107.5 The Game today, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And then again, we will get you ready for men's basketball tomorrow, 1 o'clock tip-off, 12:30 pregame right here on 107.5 The Game here later on tomorrow. We hadn't talked much about that. A lot going on this weekend that will be interesting to see where the mentality of Lamont Paris's team is. That was a backbreaker on Wednesday night. There's no other way around. That was a backbreaker. We'll see kind of how things go. When I last left you, Preston Thorne was saying that this is not a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Or what if I told you one team's 3-1 in the last 4?
And that would be?
The Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
They've won 2. They've actually won. The Bills have actually won. I did not realize this. Their last 2 trips to Arrowhead Stadium. They won earlier this year in Buffalo 30-21. All time, I didn't realize this. This feels kind of like a funny stat because I feel like they would have played more. All time in this series, the Bills are 30-25-1. Now, where you want to go with this, to re-argue your point, this decade, these 2 teams have met 3 times in the playoffs. The Chiefs are 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
2000, they played at Arrowhead. The Chiefs won 38-24. In 2020, I'm sorry, I said 2000. In 2020, 38-24 Chiefs at Arrowhead. In 2021, at Arrowhead was that incredible game that had the wild ending and
amazing.
Went to overtime. 42-36 Chiefs won. And then in 2023, last year, the Chiefs won in Buffalo 27-24. Tyler Bass with the Bills missed a game-tying field goal attempt wide right with just under 2 minutes to go to send the Chiefs to the Super Bowl.
That's really interesting. And what I guess I would position it as the Bills have won. Yes.
Let me tell you this real quick. Let me tell you this real quick. The Bills have won the last 4 regular season matchups. Have lost the last 3 playoff matchups.
Do you think the Bills think that they're supposed to win this game? Who thinks they're supposed to win this game?
Chiefs.
Exactly. So they've won.
Well, I think both teams do, but I don't think
the Bills do. I think the Bills, if at the end of this game, if they win, they will be as surprised as anybody else.
Here's the difference. I think the Bills think they can win the game. The Chiefs know they should win the game.
That's fair.
The Chiefs know the big one. When you play the big one, that they should win. It's really an interesting. They're 4-4 against each other this decade. They're 4-4 this decade, 2020 through Sunday. The Bills are 4-1 in regular season games. The Chiefs are 3-0 in the playoff games. 2 of those again at Arrowhead, 1 of them at Highmark Stadium.
And this is where Josh Allen is going to have to take the next step in his career as a quarterback. He's done a tremendous job this year of eliminating some of those bird brain things that he would do on occasion. And I would say he would do those things because he was trying to do too much. But here's the thing. They need him to do too much. They need him to be almost extraordinary as far as what he can do. You remember the last game, just this past weekend, the biggest play this past weekend that didn't happen was that Josh Allen got tackled before he could throw that lateral he was trying to throw on the goal line. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
He was trying to actively throw the game away, and they tackled him before he could do it. And it was like somebody had to pull it to the side like, Josh, don't go back to being that guy. And if he doesn't do that, obviously they have a chance to win. I'm just not sure that when it gets down into the tough times of the game, if he doesn't revert back to trying to do everything by himself.
I mean, again, it'll be really interesting. The Bills handed the Chiefs their first loss of this season. That was again, they were 9-0 going into that game. Josh Allen had the 26-yard touchdown run late in the 4th, right before the 2-minute warning to clinch the victory. But it really is interesting to see the mentality of the 2 teams because you do see a clear difference. The Bills might be the better team, But when the game is when this game has meant truly something, the Chiefs find a way to get things done. Again, 27-24 last year, 42-36 in the 2021 playoffs, and in the 2020 playoffs, they won 38-24. Kind of blew the Bills away.
So are we in consensus that we want the Bills to win?
I want them to win. I want to see. I want to see again that fan base. They're the lunatic fringe. I mean, you got to be a slight Looney Tune to live in Buffalo in December.
Well, that means I've got a song I have to play now.
Oh,
Lunatic Fringe.
Okay, sure. That's what their fan base is. But I mean, you've seen. Look, they're jumping off of RVs through like flaming tables. These people aren't right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we jokingly, we come in here, I think we joke. First time I've ever looked at the thermostat today, and it says 75, so we finally gotten that fixed. I guess we just needed one person to retire at the beginning of the year. But we don't like the cold. I couldn't live in Buffalo in January. Like, can't, wouldn't. These people live up there willingly. And then they go to these games, and as you said, Bills Mafia, they're jumping off of RVs through tables. They're slamming each other through tables.
It's a very interesting faction, and they have been on point.
Good job.
They have been this for a long time, and now they got the quarterback that can take them for a long time. I mean, they were suffering as far as having quarterbacks. You know, they had Nathan Peterman,
EJ Manuel.
It was a long suffering streak, and then they hit on this strange guy from North Dakota, and now they got the guy, and they're very close, except they have to beat the guy. And so that's what makes for all the drama.
Well, and probably what's more irritating is they've beaten the guy.
Right.
They beat the guy.
Right.
I mean, they have won the last 4 regular season games. They won in 2021 in regular season at Arrowhead, 38-20. They won in 2022 in the regular season, 24-20. At Arrowhead. They won in 2023 in the regular season, 2017 at Arrowhead. They won this year, 30-21 at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo. But now you got to go to Arrowhead, and you got to beat them in the playoffs where you're 0-3 this decade.
They're ripe for the taking. The Chiefs have found every single way to skin and grin their way to wins this year. Nobody's been overly impressed with them this year. They haven't done anything. The offense is average at best. I mean, Patrick Mahomes didn't even throw for 200 yards last weekend. I mean, they have not been very impressive, only in the fact that they keep figuring out ways to win.
Right.
And I think that's where you get into, like, the will of a champion.
They trick us all. They trick us all. They're struggling. They're sputtering.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they show us a glimpse of Taylor Swift and somebody else in the booth, and you look back down and the Chiefs are winning.
Right.
That's what happens. It's like a magic act. It's like, look over there, and you glance real quick, and you look back, and you're like, wait, how are you guys winning? What'd you do?
Yeah. I want the Bills to win. I don't know if they can overcome the mojo that is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Unfortunately, I feel like that's Taylor Swift mojo.
It doesn't hurt to have the greatest quarterback of all time.
By the way, 2010, I'm glancing through some stuff here. In 2010, Chiefs 13-10 victory at Arrowhead. Chiefs kicker Ryan Suckup hit a 35-yard field goal as time expired in overtime. How about that? Just glancing through some of these games way back in 2010. Chance to mention Ryan Suckup in a Gamecock Connection. 803-404-6100. Good job with the music, Jen. We appreciate that. We'll come back.
Red Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Just keep going.
Keep on motoring. We're going to hit a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap it all up. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. Have you received one of those mean, nasty notices from the IRS and it's keeping you up at night, stressing you out, it's bothering you? Well, if so, it's time to call John Ecton and his team. They've got a local team. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Aiken, Augusta, they have a team dedicated to resolving your income or business tax issues for good. They understand the challenges that you're facing, but time is limited, so you don't want to wait longer. Make the phone call to John Ecton and his team today to deal with the IRS maze. 803-771-9800. You get a free consultation. Again, that's 803-771-9800. For more information, visit them on the web and check them out. That's EctonLawFirm.com, ECTON lawfirm.com. Again, give them a phone call. Time is limited. Get the free consultation and take the first steps towards a worry-free life. 803-771-9800. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. Let me tell you, whether it's your business or your home, you need to make sure your roof is keeping your operation dry and running. And guess what? At Mid-State Roofing, for nearly 30 years, that's exactly what they've done. They've been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Whether it's high-rises or hospitals, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing will design and install a bonded system with a protective guarantee. And what that's going to do is keep your operation dry and running long into the future. Give them a phone call to learn more and to talk about a maintenance contract. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Somebody is going to answer your phone call, either an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee, ready to speak with you and talk about how they need to protect that roof. So give them a phone call today, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. On our live stream, to revisit a discussion of earlier, Craig, as we looked up again in the break on our TVs here and saw Dawn Staley, an interview from earlier, maybe yesterday, wearing her big hat. Craig, on our live stream, Preston said, we talked about it being big dad energy. Craig said, big hat is like the dad wearing a braided belt with his jeans.
Fair. However, in some circles, the braided belts are making a comeback. So,
well, the big hat might be trying to make a comeback.
Not in the same circles. But yes, fair.
So yeah, we doubt Dawn will coach in that today, but we've slightly had some fun at her expenses. Again, on the SEC Now show, they have an interview with her, probably from yesterday. We don't have the volume in here, but probably from yesterday, where she is rocking the big hat that she wore pretty predominantly on and blocked somebody, poor somebody behind her. And yeah, you're just in a bad spot. Hey, coach. I feel like if she's sitting in front of you, you do at least have to get a selfie out of it.
Yeah, for sure. Or you just take the picture of the hat. It's like, I'm serious. This was Dawn Staley in front of me. I promise you.
Yeah. So she wore that pretty prominently Wednesday night during the South Carolina's loss to Florida. Real quick, won't spend much time on it, but obviously tomorrow, 1 o'clock, the basketball game against Mississippi State. Preston, we kind of talked about it. It is a game where, boy, oh boy, I don't want to say they have to win. I'm intrigued. Mississippi State's another ranked team, top 15 team. They had a loss earlier this week, but you just look to see what South Carolina's mental. If they come out, you hope they come out and fight, right? Like you hope they come out and that they're not feeling sorry for themselves.
That's what you want to see. That's all you want to see. Obviously, this team handled them pretty easily early, so you want to see them avenge that. But, yeah, you want to see the effort that we've seen so far. There's no signs that this team is going the other direction. They have stood up and fought, even though they've gotten handled earlier games. We haven't questioned effort at any point in the season. So I expect to see that. And then we want to see them reduce the turnovers and finish the game.
So we'll have that for you tomorrow, 12:30 pregame, 1 o'clock tip-off, Gamecocks, Mississippi State, and men's basketball. We'll talk about the women's here in just a second. But real quick, a story from last night. Liam Cohen, and I've kind of followed his career because he came from the Rams, came and coached Kentucky with Will Levis, did that for 1 year, basically got Will Levis drafted, then went back to the Rams. I think he was supposed to come back to Kentucky, but then took the Jacksonville job. Took the Tampa Bay offensive coordinator job, interviewed for the Jacksonville job, and apparently was like, I will be your coach if you'll get rid of your general manager.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, the Jags said, no, we're going to keep Trent Baalke. And then yesterday was like, fine, we'll do it. We'll get rid of him, and got rid of him. If you're Trent Baalke, you're like, wait, what just happened here?
Yeah, Trent is definitely struggling. Trent's definitely out the door. The really interesting part of this piece is that Liam had apparently agreed to a deal with the Bucks as getting an extension as the offensive coordinator. And apparently he was on the phone with Todd Bowles and was like, oh, yeah, my kid's sick. I got a sick kid. I'm in the oh, yeah, I'll talk to you later. My kid's sick. And meanwhile, I don't know if his kid was sick or not, but he was in Jacksonville agreeing to become the head coach.
Yeah.
So the old, I got a sick kid at home. I can't talk right now.
Boy, I got to learn more about that story.
Yeah, that's bad business all around. There will be more that we hear about that story, but he was in line to sign a very lucrative deal with the Buccaneers as the offensive coordinator. Apparently, as soon as he saw Trent Baalke get fired, he's like, no, I'll take it.
Yeah, he called them back?
Yeah, he's like,
hey, I see you got a general manager position open. And that head coaching position still open. I'm intrigued now.
Apparently told Todd Bowles that his kid's sick. I wonder which kid he put it on. He's like, listen, you're gonna have to be sick for a little while.
Cough a few times into the phone.
He's so sick.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll follow that story a little bit. Cohen will become the fourth youngest active head coach in the NFL, trailing none of the guys that coached this weekend. Mike McDonald in Seattle, Chicago Bears coach Ben Johnson, and Los Angeles Rams coach Sean McVay. This afternoon, what do you think?
Let's go. Big time. Let's run them out the gym, man. Let's run them out the gym. It'll be a good game, but let's see how this goes.
Unlike Bills and Chiefs, this is not a rivalry. 16 straight for the Gamecocks. They'll look for number 17. We'll have it for you. 4:30 pregame, 5 o'clock tip-off. Go get them, Coach. Just don't wear the hat. Just don't wear the hat. Wear some Eagle stuff. We'll be all good with it, right?
Appreciate y'all.
Have a good weekend. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. New year, new toys. That's right. It's time for you to get out to Love Chevrolet and maybe check out your most fun toy, a brand new vehicle. Because at Love Chevrolet, there is absolutely no better time than right now to check out the incredible prices and the incredible selection of brand